When that is supposed to last till? No. Until Rosh Chodesh Av. Until Rosh Chodesh Av. When Rosh Chodesh Av starts, then Mimatim Bisman. Then we decrease in our joy. However, you got how many months now? Adar, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av. You got 6 months to be extra simple. Okay, so that's the main avoda that we have to don't just think okay, form's over. All right, I can relax now. I can go back to my old stubborn out to conquer self. No, you got to be constantly in simple. Okay, I wake up my kids. I come home early. I daven early. I come home. My kids. I'm waking up my kids. I come in. I'm singing songs, Purim songs, and they say, Abba, what are you doing? Purim's over. So, who cares about Purim? What do you mean? We're still in Adar. However, even though we're still in Adar, we are now shifting our sights to broader horizons. Okay, because in less than a month, 3 weeks, we got Pesach. Pesach. Now, just saying the word Pesach, it's such a loaded term that it might awaken different things for different people. Some good things, I hope. Some, unfortunately, maybe bad things. That when people start to think about Pesach and Pesach cleaning, they start to get all verklempt and all, and they love it. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Pesach is extraordinary. So we want to talk about Pesach. We're going to be doing 2 classes on Pesach this week and next week. And we want to deep dive into the deeper understandings of Pesach. And hopefully next week we are going to do more of a hands-on class, which has to do, both of these classes revolve around doing the mitzvot of Pesach. What are the main mitzvahs that we have to do on Pesach? We have to eat matzah. Cleaning the house is not exactly a mitzvah.
You're not allowed to have chametz.
Do not have chametz, but that's a negative command. Thou shalt not. Okay. Right? What are the 2 positive commandments? That is not a mitzvah. That's not a mitzvah. To read the Hagaddah. Actually, that's not the mitzvah. To read the Hagaddah is not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah that right to read the Hagaddah. To tell your children. The Hagaddah. What's that? Oh, people who didn't say those things, they didn't like do Pesach. That's right. But the 2 main mitzvahs, right? Yeah, Korban Pesach. We don't have Korban Pesach. We don't have Korban Pesach today. What? To tell your children about what happened 3,300 years ago to our ancestors. That Pesach is the birth of Am Yisrael. It is the beginning of our people as we know it.
So how does someone do the mitzvah if they don't have children?
They tell them to themselves.
Right.
You tell it to your friend, you tell it to your wife, maybe you don't have those, you tell it to your son. You fulfill the mitzvah. So that's exactly what the Allah says. So, but Pesach is so huge. Pesach is it's the entire, all of Yiddishkeit is Pesach. It's the beginning of the 3 major festivals that all revolve around the same story of Pesach. Coming out of Mitzrayim. On Pesach, we came out of Mitzrayim. On Shavuot, we came out of Mitzrayim. 49 days later, we received the Torah, right? And then on Sukkot, why Sukkot? What does Sukkot have to do with Pesach?
Being in the desert and thank Hashem for the agricultural.
That's also true. But what does Sukkot have to do with Pesach? With coming out of Egypt? Because we sat in Sukkot when we came out of Mitzrayim, right? So I'm just going to throw here bonus trivia question. If we sat in Sukkot when we came out of Egypt, what the heck is Sukkot doing at the end of the year? If we sat in Sukkot when we came out of Egypt, well, Sukkot and Pesach should go together, right? Or maybe we should even sit in Sukkot on Pesach and have our matzah. That would make sense, right? Why did Torah throw the Sukkot all the way towards the end of the year?
Well, did we only sit in Sukkot at that point, or was it the whole time that we were in the?
We had when we first came out, when we came into the midbar, then we had tents. But nonetheless, the reason that we sit in Sukkot is Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim. We say that in Tefillah, we say it everything. It has to do with coming out of Egypt. The Hagaddah is a different, the different. It's like the same thing that we, instead of sitting in physical Sukkot, we stand in the spiritual Sukkot. This is not a class in Sukkot. Just I thought to throw that out there as a bonus trivia question. What's the answer though? Why does Sukkot happen all the way? So Chazal says like this: if we celebrated Sukkot when we were supposed to celebrate it, which means when we actually sat in Sukkot, which is Pesach, then we would not recognize the fact that we are sitting in Sukkot because of the mitzvah. Because it's nicer. Because everybody's going, it's springtime, it's nice. Everybody is camping outside in nature, right? But at the end of the summer, right, towards like autumn, fall, when everybody's now closing up shop and like bringing all their stuff in, they're getting ready for winter, they're coming inside. All of a sudden, the Jews, no. We're going to go camp outside for 7 days, right? Oh, so now it's showing the world, it's recognizing that you're doing it not just because it's, it's nice to have, an outdoor seating, an outdoor experience. You're doing it because it's amazing. Okay. But nonetheless, all of these holidays revolve around this story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Exodus from Egypt. Pesach is the foundation of our people. So we want to understand what is so awesome about this. What is so awesome about this? So we said there's two methods. One, the Hagaddah Libincha, we have to tell the story. So traditionally we do that through the Hagaddah, to not leave it up to every single person to kind of like figure out how they're going to tell the story. They made one kind of uniform storybook, and that's what we read, the Hagaddah. We're going to leave the Hagaddah until next week. We're going to talk about more than that. We're actually going to go through the Hagaddah step by step and to decode what every single different part and step out of the 15 steps in the Hagaddah, what each one of them corresponds to, what it means, and how you can elevate your Seder experience to extraordinary proportions, life-changing. Okay, so we're going to go in depth into the Hagaddah next week. However, I want to talk about this week the other mitzvah, matzah. Matzah. Question is, why do we eat matzah? Why is matzah such a central point of Pesach? Why are we eating matzah? Yeah.
Well, it has two aspects.
Lechem
to it.
oni.
It has two aspects to it. It's commemorating the Lechem oni when they were slaves. And then when they got out of Mitzrayim, the dough that they prepared didn't rise.
Yefemo. So if everybody remembers here, when you were in Gan, so the Genetic Rivka told us that we eat matzah because the bread did not have time to rise, right? Unleavened bread. Zecher le, right? So we're commemorating. Right? However, we do take a deeper look at the reasoning behind this. The Sefer Achinu teaches us that we eat matzah not just as a commemorative device to remember the fact that once upon a time the bread did not rise, and we were eating, but also the fact is that on Pesach, it is when Am Yisrael, as a people, began their relationship with God. Okay? Before Pesach, Who had a relationship with God before Pesach, before Moshe? Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, of course, Sarah and Rivka and Rachel, and the Shvatim. But then once the shiur started, once the enslavement to Pharaoh started in Egypt, that's it. The Jewish people have no revelation of God, no relationship. They had a promise. They had a nevuah. They knew that one day God would take us out. They didn't know God. The Jewish people didn't know God. And when Pesach happened, it is when God revealed himself, made himself known to the Jewish people. And it is when we began to have, as people, emunah in God. Emunah in God. So the Sefer Chinuch says, why do we eat matzah? Because when we eat the matzah, we remember that it was the beginning of our relationship with the creator of the world, the creator of the universe, of the heavens and the earth. And then that strengthens our emunah. So the Sefer Chinuch says, why do we eat matzah? Because it strengthens our emunah. Get that? Now the question is, what the heck is emunah? This is a trick question. I'm warning you now. Okay, when we say emunah, okay, which 9 out of 10 people will translate emunah to faith, right? When we are talking about emunah, what exactly do we have faith in? What exactly do we believe? What is actually the difference between what we believe versus what everybody else in the world believes? What's the difference between Jewish emunah versus non-Jewish? Because there's a difference. When we say emunah, when we talk about faith, belief in God.
Knowledge of God.
Knowledge of God. Relationship with God. Wait, non-Jews don't have a relationship with God? They can, right? Absolutely, right? Everybody know everybody. Yeah.
A living recognition of
Okay, a recognition of God. Okay. But what kind of recognition? What are we recognizing here?
Hashem is involved in us and cares about us and is involved in everything we do is connected.
Hashem is involved in everything that we do.
And that he's one.
And that he's one. And
There is no such thing as
there's no such thing as coincidence, and everything that happens, it's God's hand in the world. Yeah. 1390 what?
He made promises to us.
He made promises.
Guaranteeing our existence.
I've not told, I believe, I know that God exists, and everything is from us.
Right.
What we thought.
Everything's good. Let me ask you this. Everything that you just said right now, do non-Jews believe that as well? Absolutely.
No, not what
What'd you say?
I said, Hashem made promises to us, but that we would exist.
Do Goyim believe that God made promises to the Jewish people? Absolutely. Go to the Jewish people.
Okay, but not to them.
Not to them. No.
Okay,
We're talking about.
What
Okay, so you're saying he made a promise. Last time you listened to your
We have promises, you know, this forever.
right.
I'm gonna give you this land.
Right.
You know, your children.
No, it's a different level.
Yeah.
Nothing's not there.
So
And my church puts us in our place. We are less. We should get diminished.
we should diminish ourselves. We should be more humble.
Humility,
Do Goyim believe in that man should be more humble?
no. No, not at all. They think they're the job.
Hold on. Most religions, if we were going to like ask Rabbi Google right now, okay, all the major religions in the world, do they preach humility or arrogance? Humility. So they also talk about being less. They also talk about diminishing the ego, being more humble. Okay, all right. Which is why we need Kabbalistic and the Hasidic masters to even ask this question. Because the emunah that we're talking about on Pesach has nothing to do with anything with what anything anybody here says. That is not.
Is that personal?
No. Can non-Jews have a personal relationship with God? Absolutely.
Therefore, what is the difference between belief and knowledge?
We'll get to belief and knowledge in a
I
second.
think when we say believe,
Right.
there is a little bit of doubt. Like I believe in you,
Right.
but you know
Right.
something.
Yeah.
It's not completely.
But I'm sure you could walk into like a Southern Baptist church somewhere in Tennessee, right? I believe, hallelujah, I believe. Okay. Substitute Yoshka from God. Yeah, I'm willing to believe that they believe, and I'm willing to believe that they really believe they believe. However, what is it that separates, that makes Jewish emunah unique? What do we believe in that nobody else believes?
That he's gonna take us out of our troubles.
I think that's very common. Okay, so so in order to understand what kind of, we have to understand there's two different types of emunah. There are two different types of emunah that we're talking. There's one emunah, which is the emunah that everybody spoke about, which is the way most human beings connect to God. God is present in our lives. Everything is through divine providence. Nothing happens without a reason. There's no such thing as coincidence. I can have a personal relationship with God. God listens to me. I can pray to God. These are all very, very common things. God created the heavens and the earth. God is the master of the universe. All basic things, not what we call emunah. It doesn't even qualify as emunah. Because this level of understanding God is so simple. You don't need emunah for. You don't need emunah for. Because it's something that most human beings can understand. Like the fact here, the classic proof of God's existence, okay? How many people here believe that this cup was made by someone or some machine? You believe that?
Yeah.
Do you know the person who made this cup? No. Did you ever meet the person who made this cup? No. So then why do you believe someone or something made this cup?
Because it doesn't exist in nature now. It doesn't exist.
Because it could not have happened by itself. It doesn't happen in nature. It just could not happen. It doesn't happen by itself, right? Meaning, if you want to use the list of probabilities, okay, that if you were going to take, a single-celled organisms or whatever was in the beginning of creation of the universe, right, and throw them all together, not in a million years you're going to get stuff. Not in a billion. So the fact that the cup exists, I know someone made the cup because it didn't just come into existence by itself, right? What's that? The watch in the desert. If you find a watch in the desert, yeah, that's the same argument. And in the Midrash talks about Abraham Avinu walking through the forest, and he sees a house with candles lit. If you were to walk through the forest and to come upon a house and see candles lit, would you think that this thing came out of nothing? No. Somebody built the house? Somebody lit the candles? There's nobody there. I didn't meet the person who built the house, but any simple brain will understand the fact that there's a house, somebody built the house. Wood does not just fall out of the sky and build a house. Right? Okay. So that's the classic argument to prove that, where is God? I don't need to meet God to know that God created me.
Scientific theory.
Right.
that there was a sort of evolution. I mean,
Yeah, but even with evolution is not going to make a house.
they seem to say that things go from simplicity to complexity.
Well, okay, so evolution.
Not
Right,
to some-
right.
but not to some
So we're
degree.
gonna save the scientific arguments against that, because obviously if the argument was so simple, well, then everybody would believe in God and there would be no such thing as atheists. But the fact that there are people who deny God's existence is because of arguments, and we have to address those, but that's not the topic we're talking about. The fact is that 99.9% of the believing world, Jews, Christians, Muslims, right, all believe that God created the heavens and the earth and that God is present in our lives. Buddhism is a little bit different, so we're gonna put them, we're gonna beat them out. We're gonna leave them. They don't believe in a person. They don't believe in a personal God. Christians, Muslims, Jews, and a personal God. God is directly involved in my life. I can pray to God. He listens to me. He answers my prayer.
The Emunah is about we are his people.
No, because that's still kind of talking about God being present in you. However, the emunah. No. I know it's a fascinating question. It's a fascinating question. But the answer to this question is how the Zohar explains that there are two levels of emunah. The first level of emunah, which we don't really call emunah because it's so basic. God present in the world. God created the world and God is present in the world. And God is bringing all of existence into creation at every moment. However, the other level of emunah, the emunah that we're talking about, the emunah that even though God has created the world, that God is beyond the world. God is not just limited to the universe, and that God transcends the universe. God is beyond the universe. And God beyond the universe looks at the universe. The universe, reality, creation, it's as if it does not exist. Now, for those of you guys that study Tanya with me, I will say that again. I've actually said this for about 7 weeks, consecutive classes talking about this. You can get the recording from Rabbi Tzfat here. But the emunah that we believe, right, Leah? This is what we talked about. Remember, Shema Yisrael, higher emunah, lower emunah. The higher unity of God is knowing that from God's perspective, that is beyond heavens and earth, beyond creation. That from that perspective, it's as if everything is completely been nullified. And this is, we have to understand this, it's as if creation exists, but doesn't exist. It's as if, it's not a paradox, we'll explain it in a second, but the idea here is that it's as if the universe exists, but does not exist. How can we possibly understand? How can we understand that the reality as we know it is that there is no other reality other than God? I mean, the fundamental declaration of Jewish faith we say every single day, twice a day. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. God is one. When we say God is one, what are we saying then? We are not saying that God is the only God and that there are no other gods other than God. That is not the declaration of Jewish faith. When we say God is one, we mean to say there is nothing other than God. Ein od milvado. When you say Ein od milvado, the way the pshat is in the Torah, when it says Ein od milvado, which means there are no other gods but God. There are no other gods but God. That's like, if you open up Rashi, that's the explanation, Ein od milvado, that there's no other gods but God. He is the God, he is the creator of heavens and the earth, and he is the only one that is worthy to be worshipped. None of these other, idols and whatnot. That's Ein od milvado. However, along comes the Zohar, along comes the Arizal, along comes the Kabbalistic Hasidic masters displayed. What's Ein od milvado really mean? Ein od milvado really means there is nothing other than God. God is the only, was the only thing in creation, is the only thing in creation, and will be the only thing in creation. So if that's true, who the heck are we?
We're part of that.
Excuse me, Rabbi. Excuse me. Yeah, kol kavod, and od milvado. Yeah, okay. I'm here. Hello. Okay.
And we have free choice.
How can you tell me that there is no other reality other than Hashem? When, look at this. Look at this. Perfect specimen of a human being. How can this possibly be? There's something not. So there's something not right here. So the mystics is like, okay, relax, chill out. We got it. Okay. You know, how do we understand this? So we have 3 different metaphors. I'm going to go quickly through them because we could spend literally the next several weeks just meditating, thinking, and talking about this. First metaphor the Baal HaTanya brings is the rays of the sun when they are still in the sun. We see the rays of the sun. We feel the rays of the sun. Where is the sun?
Out there.
Not here, not anywhere near, not anywhere close. We are able to experience the rays of the sun. Is it safe to assume that the rays of the sun come from the sun? We can say that, right? What would happen if we disconnected the rays of the sun from the sun? There would be no rays. The rays must be connected to the sun, right? So the rays cannot come from the sun. However, before the rays actually emanate from the sun, where are the rays? In the sun. But when the rays are in the sun, we don't see the rays. All you see is the sun. That's one mashal. They're not rays anymore. It's just the sun. So it's there. That's right. It's there. The rays are there, but they're not there because the only thing you would see is the sun. One mashal. Another mashal. A candle. When you light a candle in a dark room, does the candle produce light? Yes. Okay. However, when you light that same candle in the middle of the afternoon, middle of the day, does the candle still produce light? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. But you can't see it. Where is the light of the candle?
Overpowered.
It's completely absorbed or nullified. This is the word bittul. The light of the candle is nullified within the light of the sun, the daylight, right? Is it there?
Yes.
Yes. It's there, but it's not.
I noticed that with my lights.
It's like
If my lights are on in the day, you can't tell they're on.
you can't tell they're on. That's right. So you have a situation where something is, but it's not. It exists, but it doesn't exist. You don't perceive it. It's as if it's not there, but it's there.
That's the show.
It's us. We and everything in our universe and all of the universes and all the spiritual universes, all of the heavens, Gan Eden, the angels, everything is like the light of the candle that is burning in the middle of the day.
So it's not.
God is the daylight, is the sun, is the daylight. In the metaphor, he is the sun, he is the daylight, and we are the candlelight. So we have a situation where we exist, but the truth is, we don't exist. We exist, we can't say we don't exist. That's not correct. There is Shis bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz. God created the heavens and the earth. It's not an imagination, it's not a dimion, it's not an illusion. It's real. So how is it we can say that we exist, but we don't exist? Because we are like the light of a candle in the middle of the day. That the true reality, as is God, is the daylight. You don't see anything but God. Just like you don't see the candlelight, all you see is the daylight. All you would see, if we could see God, all you would see is God. You would not see anything but God. This is the meaning of what we say, Ein od milvato. There is nothing other than God. And this is the emunah that is Jewish emunah. This is the emunah, the perception of reality in this way, is what was given to us, is what we experienced on Pesach. The fact that there is no other reality other than Hashem.
But I said that God is one, so that's kind of.
Right, but when you say God is one, you need to explain what that means. Because everybody says God is one. The question is, what does that mean, God is one? So, right, if God is the only God and there's no other gods, and he's the one creator, okay, fine. But here what we're talking about is that it's as if we are completely nullified within God's life. What's the reason? What?
Nothing exists outside of Hashem.
Nothing exists outside of Hashem, but the fact is that nothing exists even within Hashem, meaning there's nothing other than Hashem. And the question is, well, wait a second, if that's true, well, then how are we even see this reality? Topic for another conversation. We see us, we don't see Hashem. Why is that? What's the answer to that? The entire Tanya, the second part of Tanya, which we learned for several weeks, basically comes down to the fact that God is hiding himself. The fact that God is hiding himself is what we see out, is why we are able to see ourselves. If God were to reveal himself, we would disappear.
It's like
We would
Simpson.
Yes, kind of. Just yes, to be, we'll just say Simpson. The other metaphor that I like using is what happens, and this is actually, we found this in Allah. What happens if you spill a drop of milk into your cholent?
It's considered that it's full into the.
Are you able to eat the cholent? Yes. Why are you able to eat the cholent?
It's nullified.
It's nullified. What's nullified? The milk. The milk has been completely nullified. Now, if we were going to take that,
160.
if we were going to take that cholent to a laboratory, and they were going to examine to see if there were traces, molecular traces of milk in the cholent, would they find milk? Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's milk in the cholent. Hold on. All right, stop. Up. All right, we're pause Kabbalah, back to Allah. Backtrack, get shut. Okay, we got a little grounded. Why is the cholent still permitted if a little bit of milk falls into the cholent? What is the halachic explanation? What's negligible? What's negligible? What? The taste of the milk. The taste of the milk is indistinguishable. You cannot taste, which means Chazal says that 1 to 60 parts, it completely nullifies the taste of the milk. The taste of the milk, right? Because it's liquid, it mixes in, you can't find the milk, so all you're left with is the taste. If there's 60 times the amount, then there's no taste, so you can eat it. Because you're not allowed to enjoy meat and milk together. So if there's no taste, no problem. So that's the halachic reason why it's allowed. Okay, which is why if it was actually not milk, but like a piece of cheese or something, right? Maybe the cheese not a good example because it melts, but a piece of pork chop. If a pork chop fell into your cholent, yeah,
It's trade.
what?
Trade.
Little piece of pork chop.
Still trade. You don't have it.
Little, very little. You have 60 times the amount of cholent versus the pork chop. Is it what? It is. It's you.
I don't think I would keep that.
If there's 60 times the amount of pork in your cholent, 60 times the amount of cholent, then it nullifies the taste of the pork chop. And you are allowed to eat the cholent. However, there's one stipulation: you have to take out the pork
You have to.
because it's actually like a solid. You have to take it out. You take it out, you give it to a goy to taste. They said, nope. Go ahead, have your choice. That's the halacha. That's the halacha. However, with milk, you can't even take out because there's no solid. There's nothing to take out. So just like the milk is there, it's in the pot, but what? It would. Are you thinking about new recipes now for Shabbos? Oh, the American Jews just happened to go to the. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Once the milk has been completely nullified in the children, it's there, but it's not. It's there, but it's not. Okay? So just like that, so too, we have to think of ourselves. What's the emunah that we're talking about? We all have to believe that we are all like drops of milk swimming in a big cosmic jar.
Wow.
Okay?
What a visual.
God Almighty, okay, God Almighty is the great cholent in the sky. Okay, God is the great cholent, and there is nothing but cholent. There was only cholent, there is cholent, there will only always be cholent. And we are like drops of milk swimming in the jar, which means we exist. That's right. We exist, but we don't exist. If you were to stir through that pot until you're blue in the face, you will not find the milk, right? Ain od michulent, okay? There's only cholent. So that's the emunah. What's the emunah that we're talking about? The emunah here is that the reality is that right now, even as we speak, the fact that we can actually see like drops of milk everywhere we look is only because God is as if he is masking out the cholent. But we know the Jewish emunah, the Jewish declaration of faith is saying, even though God is hiding the cholent, I know, but the truth is, ain't no view for God. There is no other reality other than Hashem, even right now as we speak.
I just
Even right now as we speak.
Especially right now.
Espe-
There's no other time.
There's no other time. That's right, right now. Because the world, sorry, go
I
ahead.
just learned this new concept of emunah, that if people are like constantly telling you, oh, you're fat, like, oh, why are you keeping Torah? Why are you doing this? Why is, and day in and day out for 10 years, would you change?
Would you change what?
Would you change how you feel about your Torah?
If what?
If you don't have that emunah that you're talking about.
If you didn't have that emunah, well, I mean, the truth is that we managed to survive for like 2,000 years, not with this emunah, but the emunah was not conscious. It was a subconscious thing,
I'm
because
saying if it's conscious, it's really like.
if it was conscious, everybody would instantly here be turned into tzaddik.
Right.
Why? Because the only reason that evil can exist, the only reason that ego can exist, the only reason that something is that a ratzon that wants something that God does not want, the only reason that ratzon exists is because it's not a conscious understanding. Meaning, if it was conscious, there is no way that we could possibly do something against God. There would be no room for it. We would be instantly tzaddik, because we would be instantly known.
So
But the
that's why
fact-
Hashem put down the Yetzer
The Yetzer Hara, before we get to the Yetzer, first of all, what are the weapons that we have to educate the ego, right? Because the ego, the nefesh behemit, the animal soul, says, I am, I exist, I exist, I am, I exist. It's about me. I'm in the middle. I'm in the center.
iPad and the iPad.
However, the neshama comes into this world to educate the ego, the lower part of us, and teach, I'm sorry to tell you this, but no, you're not.
There's no there.
You're not. No, you're not. What do you mean? I am. Look, I am. No, you're not. So the nefesh of Benami, the animal soul, is completely oblivious. Is completely oblivious to this reality. The reality that there is no other reality other than Hashem. That's why all of the goyim, all of the nations, all of humanity perceives, they believe in God. But you know what they also believe in?
Themselves.
The world. Themselves as part of the world. God created the world. So what do you have? God and the world. And they're two separate things. Now, God watches the world, and God is directing the world and directly involved in the world. But there's the world, there's God, and then there's the world. However, along come the Jews and say, no, sorry.
You don't exist. So
I hate to break it to you, but actually there's no God in the world. There's actually just God.
There's no
There's nothing outside of God. Ain't no view. We are completely absorbed within God. And when we understand that, really integrate that into our consciousness, then what that does, you know what that does? Deflates the ego.
So
Deflates the ego. When you realize that you actually don't have any reality at this moment because you are just a little drop of milk floating in this big cosmic cholent.
That's what Pharoah is all about. Ego.
Pharoah was about me, right? But what the Jews are about, it's about Hashem. And so we deflate our egos. That is the emunah that is unique to Jews. The fact that we can say there's not a creator and there's a creation, there is only Hashem. Now, to explain that in a logical way, you got to learn a lot of Kabbalah, you got to learn a lot of Tzfat. To be able to explain to someone, to even a non-Jew, what does that mean? That there is no other reality other than Hashem. So you have the rays of the sun analogy, you have the light of the candle within the day analogy, and you have the cholent analogy. But the mind, the logical mind, has to begin to understand, wait a second. We are actually completely nullified within God at this very moment. Now, when we begin to consciously perceive that, deflates the ego, because there's no more ego to exist, because the truth is, it's completely nullified within God. That is the emunah that happens on Pesach, that happened in Yitzhak and Torah. And every year now, it's as if the neshama now is coming into the world for the very first time, and now needs to begin to educate the nefesh behamit, to educate the ego, the rational, logical part of our human brains, or if you will, the child. The child, that sees reality just firsthand for what it is. The neshama, as the adult here, needs to once again to be able to teach the child, to educate the child what it is that we as Jews believe. This is Hagaddah lebincha, to tell your children, not just the fact that God created the world, no. Tell ourselves and also our children that the true nature of reality is that there is no other reality other than Hashem. Now, not just to explain that at the conscious level, we also need something to be able to instill and to integrate that knowledge, that knowing within every nerve and every cell and every fiber of our being. How do we install that emunah into every fiber of our being? That's called matzah. It's called matzah. When you eat a physical food, that physical food is becoming a part of your physical body. And the old saying is, you are what you eat. And the Zohar says that the matzah is not just some commemorative device to remember the fact that God took the Jewish people out of Egypt. But the Zohar says that the matzah itself has the power of emunah in it. The matzah itself has the emunah in it. And that when the Jewish people sit on Passover night and they eat the matzah. They are eating. It's called michla de mehenut, food of faith. Not the faith that we believe in God, that God created the world. No. We are eating matzah, and the faith that we are eating, the moon that we are eating, that ain't od mil v'do, there is no other reality other than Hashem. Which is why the matzah is unleavened. The leaven, it means I am, I exist, right?
It's all arrogant.
No. Well, it depends. It's sourdough. But here, right, the matzah is completely unleavened, which is as if saying that the matzah doesn't exist. And the matzah itself, it's not just something we do to commemorate Yetzias Mitzrayim, but the matzah itself actually has emunah. And this is so why Jews are so mishigi over matzahs on Pesach. Some people, whatever, just give me a box of matzahs, machine-made, brown, square matzahs, I'm good. Right? But the people that learn and understand that the Zohar and the Kabbalah say that the matzah that you're eating actually is infusing into every nerve and cell and fiber of your being. This emunah, the emunah that completely nullifies your ego, that completely nullifies your perception of reality. They go crazy for matzah that is, first of all, round, handmade, round, and that is shmura matzah. Why? What is shmura? What does shmura mean? Why? What are we watching? What are we protecting? Shmura means protected, like shmira, right? What? Yeah, but
It remains dry.
that's up here, right? But we're talking down here. I have a friend. We had a friend, David Hassan, Allah Shalom. You know his job? Everybody here know? Esther Hassan. Every year he would go to Arizona, I think somewhere, and he would sit in a hut in like a caravan for 6 months and watch wheat. That's what he did. It was like a Satmar Hasidim, but they own these wheat fields in Arizona, Utah, or somewhere like that. And that's all he did. All day, every day, just watch the wheat. Make sure to get people. That's a job. We got very well paid for that.
But doesn't it need water to grow? I mean,
No, but yeah. But you have to go. If it rained, they would like have to pat it down. It's great. But the idea is that the beginning, that's like an extra hole. The beginning is once it's cut. Right. Once it's cut, no contact with water whatsoever. But that's up here. Shmura matzah, not getting contact with water, is not becoming chametz up here, but down here, what are we talking about? What are we protecting? Why do we want shmura matzah? What are we protecting? We're protecting our consciousness. Because I'm eating consciousness right now. I'm eating super consciousness. I'm not going to be able to see the fact that we're just drops of milk swimming in a big cholent, but it will be installed at the deepest levels of our subconscious. And so we take the utmost care to make sure that matzah is going to be pure consciousness, pure emunah. And I don't want to like even a little bit, a drop of chametz, meaning existence, meaning that false perception of reality that something exists. I don't want to get even a little bit of that inside, which is why we get rid of all our chametz, which is why we are so mashigi about getting rid of every little last drop, and especially the matzah that we eat. We make sure when it's handmade that it's round. Why round and not square? What does round represent? Yeah, but here, according to the Zohar, this level of emunah is called sovev kol almi. There's memale kol almi, which means God fills the whole world. But then there's the sovev kol almi, which surrounds, encompasses all worlds, which is why the matzah needs to be round. I don't know.
What's 18 minutes? Why is it that it has to be?
Yeah.
And we do bring water to.
Right. That's right. Because
And then
18.
What happens before and after that? Oh, 18 minutes.
What is the numerical value of 18? Chai. That's right. What is life? God is life. to be connected to the source of life, to the true source of life. That chiyut, that chai, is that what is connecting us. And we do that through the emunah. The emunah gives us life. What does the verse say? Tzaddik be'em. What? The emunah have to give life. What gives us life? The emunah. Someone that is walking around that does not have emunah. Every Jew has emunah, but different levels, consciously versus subconsciously. But without emunah, it's not a life. You're a walking animal.
The matzah is made only because of the 18 minutes, so it has to have life first before the minute be created.
Or yeah, I mean, you can say that as well. The point is that the emunah that we get from the matzahs has to not have any death according to it. And according to this, chametz equals death. Because what is death here? Death is the perception that I exist.
The ego is born at the 18th.
Correct. It means that you're now eating bread. And when you're eating bread, you are now feeding your ego. You're feeding perception of self. And on Pesach, that is an absolute no, because it is the beginning of the year, so to speak, and it is the beginning of our chinuch. It is the beginning of our development and nurturing the true perception about geula consciousness of knowing Eino Geula. However, when we get to Shavuot, what's the mitzvah there? To eat matzah? No. What's the matzah? What's the mitzvah on Shavuot? To bring the two breads. To bring the two challahs on Shavuot. There you have to bring chametz. Why do you have to bring chametz on Shavuot? Because once you have now established the foundation of matzah, of nothingness, of complete nullification to Hashem's unity, now I can begin to fulfill my purpose in the world, which is to be something, but not to bring my something, to bring God something.
So the yetziah can only occur in the absence of ego.
Correct. But once I've nullified the ego, now I can harness the power of the ego. Now the ego does not run wild. It's not a wild animal anymore. The nefesh of the hamid has now been given the consciousness. It's as if literally you've taken the consciousness of man and you've given it to the animal. And when the animal now has the conscious awareness of God like man does, this is fulfilling the purpose of creation. This is called dira b'tachtonim, that God wants a dwelling place in the lower world. Dwelling place in the lower world means that the lowest part, the ego, the animalistic part of us, is completely nullified. It begins on Pesach. It begins when we eat the matzah, that every person has to know and believe deep down in the depths of their soul that when they sit on Passover night and when they eat the matzah, they are eating pure and perfect emunah and ein od milvado. And that every nerve and cell and fiber of their being, subconscious level or superconscious level, however you want to call it, is being infused with this emunah that there is no other reality other than Hashem. We eat matzah for 7 days. That matzah that happens on Seder night begins in the beginning in the chokmah, but then it travels to all the lower 7 sefirot within the nefesh. That happens at a general level, and then we start to count 7 weeks. 7 weeks, 7 days of those weeks, which is now bringing that emunah into the different particular attributes and characteristics of the animal soul of the ego. But on Passover night, it happens at the general level.
We begin with
That's right. So the chesed is to know that we've been given life. So, B'ezrat Hashem, you got to eat matzah, enjoy your matzah, believe in your matzah, because your matzah believes in you. Chaim l'chaim.
Thank you so much.
One atheist came to Rabbi told me that the sun exists. So, okay, let's go to the